I feel like there is so much to talk about here. I've been thinking about this particular video, and now that I'm here, now that I have taken a seat to talk about what I thought was going to be one thing, I've now feel like I've opened up Pandora's box. Initially, I was going to be talking about this new press release that just came out from the US Department of Justice, where they're going to be reviewing Memphis Police Department, its activities, its procedures, its policies. And my understanding is that the chief of police and that the mayor had requested this review by DOJ. But now I'm just going to push that aside because there was supposed to be this release of video and audio an additional 20 hours, but now there's a halt on that. A judge said, full stop, just wait. We are not going to do that yet. Welcome, Ms. Legalista, aka Attorney Sheila. I've still been putting all of this together, but you guys can follow along. I am just totally behind here. I feel like I'm catching up. I'm only a day late to this, and yet I feel like this is a snowball that's rolling down a hill, and before I can catch up, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what I feel like is going on with this. But let's go ahead and take a look at this information. Now, actually, I first ran into this when I was checking something out on NPR, and they were talking about, they were slated to be released yesterday, this new 20 additional hours of video and audio. And the thing about it that really caught me off guard was not just that they were going to release this additional video and audio, but that part of what was stated with that was that the investigation had been completed. That was the part that really threw me. So add that in. Like I said, the snowball is just getting really big here because I think that's sort of a bigger question. Yes, the DOJ is going to be doing its review. Yes, there's this additional footage, but what about this whole the investigation is complete? I think a lot of us still have a lot of questions about what happened. The hearings haven't finished with some of the licensing around one of the EMTs, what was going on with the lieutenant, who were all of the other people who were on site, and how were they involved in the investigation? We haven't gotten any of that information yet. Maybe it's all going to be released with some report that the city of Memphis is going to put out. But you see it here now on the city's website. The city is stating itself, this is what is going on here. It says court orders delay of the release of video and records of Tyre Nichols' case. Let's go down and take a look at this. And I actually haven't opened on another tab, but I think you can probably see it pretty well here. It's really short. It is only one page, so there's not even a whole lot of information to this. All right, in the Criminal Court of Tennessee for the 30th Judicial District, Division 3, and this is for all 5 of those officers are requesting this delay. This is who this is coming from. Okay, so this is not coming from the City of Memphis Police Department or the fire department where the EMTs were. This is coming from the defendants: Desmond Mills, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin, and Justin Smith. And this is the order. I should go back and try to find if there are any initial documents relating to this. It says the following action or change of status is hereby ordered upon motion of the defendants. I need to track down the motion so that we can take a look at what was in this motion. Upon motion of the defendants, the court orders that the release of videos, audio, reports, and personnel files of City of Memphis employees related to this indictment and investigation, to include administrative hearings, records, and related files, shall be delayed until such time as the state and the defendants have reviewed this information. The release of this information shall be subject to further orders of this court, and in the public interest will be ordered as soon as practicable. So you see this here, the order in front of you. So we're now not going to get a lot of information right now. The court has indicated that it will come back and review this at a later moment in time. And this is based on a motion that the defendants have put forth. They're saying they need time to review this. And take note here, get some things out of the way here. Take note that they're not just talking about that video and audio. What I had read earlier said that it was going to be an additional 20 hours of video and audio. But this looks way more extensive than that. Notice it goes beyond that. It doesn't just say videos and audio. It says reports, personnel files. It says administrative hearings and records. And the reason that I'm pointing out the fact that this is saying administrative hearings and records, if you've been following some of the information that I've been putting out there, I just went over the licensing hearing that was related to one of the EMT officers. And that was the EMT, not the advanced EMT, just the regular basic EMT, Robert Long. He had given his testimony. I did a live response or reaction, attorney reaction, lawyer reaction to that full hearing. And so that hearing is already out there for the world to see. And it makes me wonder if they're saying administrative hearings, if they're also including that in there, or are they only referring to the administrative hearings of these 5 officers? It's interesting. It's not clear. I would tend to think that it's only for these 5 officers, but the information that this other EMT may have, Jamichael Sandridge, the advanced EMT, it may have some impact on the defendant's cases. And so they may be saying, hey, we don't want any of this. And as I'm looking at this, this is very broad. You see this language is very broad. Although it lists the defendants there, okay, it says related to the indictment investigation, related to, that could be anything. That could be anything. So that could definitely include the next hearing for Jamichael Sandridge. Now, like I said, the one that's out there for Robert Long, it's already out there. So you can't really take that back. And they're probably wishing maybe we had, gotten this out sooner. But Jamichael Sandridge, are we going to see his hearing? We might not see his hearing now because it's related to. Now notice that's the fire department. They were the EMTs. These officers were Memphis Police Department officers. But they could very well argue and say, hey, those EMTs, that is related to this case also. So we don't want that released either. Because I've been waiting to see if it's going to be released, and I have not seen that yet. So I don't think it's coming. I'm going to hold off until the news media starts reporting that more information has been released, because I don't see it here. But let me go back to the city's page back here at the top. Let me scroll back up to see what else it says. Okay, so back on their page, like I said before, this is the City of Memphis website that says court orders delay in release of video and records of the Tyre Nichols case. Then down here at the bottom, it says in a response to a motion. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the same thing. So we're not going to hear anything. This just came out yesterday. We're not going to hear anything else. We're not going to get any more video, any more audio. We're not going to get any more records, I think, for a while. I don't think any of that is going to happen for a while. We are going to definitely be waiting until, because what it says here, it says until they've had a chance to review this. And then the court's going to decide in the public interest and will allow this to be seen. So that's a pretty big update there that we have now, knowing that we are not going to be seeing some of this information that we thought we were going to be seeing. That is now off the table. But let me go to this new DOJ, the Department of Justice review, because this just came out too, like everything's coming out here at one time. So we have, the records that aren't going to be released. And I'm going to save this for last, this piece about the investigation being complete, because that's what I've been seeing in the news media, that the investigation is complete. At least that's what I just saw. But I want to head over to this piece about the Department of Justice and what the Department of Justice is going to be looking at. And based on what I saw earlier, it looked like this review came at the request of the chief of police and the mayor. So let me see if I can find that and pull that up. It's a very wordy document, you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, it really is. You know how government documents can be sometimes. So it's Department of Justice announces review of, let's see, Memphis Police Department. I think you guys can see that there now. Let me get me out of the way a little bit. Maybe you can see it a little better. So like I said before, we aren't going to get any records today. We aren't going to get that video and that audio. A judge will decide. And very likely, I can imagine you've got 5 attorneys for 5 different defendants. It is going to take them a while to review 20 additional hours of footage and any records relating to any administrative hearings. That stuff is going to take a while. But let's go ahead and see what's going on with this press release that just came out yesterday also. It says Department of Justice announces review of Memphis Police Department's use of force and de-escalation policies and a separate review of specialized units across the country. So they are not just going to be looking at Memphis and this Scorpion unit that is now defunct, but they're going to be looking at these specialized units across the country. This is the Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, COPS office. And you know what? We'll go over to that website in a little bit. Announced today, it will be undertaking 2 important reviews. One related to the Memphis Police Department and one that will examine the use of specialized units within law enforcement. First, the COPS office, through its Collaborative Reform Initiative Technical Assistance Center, will conduct a review of certain policies and practices of the Memphis Police Department. Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland and Memphis Police Chief Sarah J. Davis requested this review, which will cover policies, practices, training, data, and processes related to MPD's use of force, de-escalation, and specialized units. At the conclusion of the review, the COPS office will issue a public report outlining its findings and recommendations. So we should get something out of this. We should know there should be a written report that we'll be able to take a look at. The COPS office, the initiative is led and supported by 9 leading law enforcement stakeholder organizations. It provides a wide array of technical assistance services using a by the field, for the field approach. Since its inception in 2017, the program has provided technical assistance for over 800 law enforcement engagements. Separate from the Memphis review, the COPS office will produce a guide for police chiefs and mayors across the country to help them assess the appropriateness of the use of specialized units, as well as how to ensure necessary management and oversight of such units, including review of policies, tactics, training, supervision, accountability, and transparency. In the wake of Tyre Nichols' tragic death, the Justice Department has heard from police chiefs across the country who are assessing the use of specialized units and where used, appropriate management, oversight, and accountability for such units. The COPS office guide on special units will be a critical resource for law enforcement, mayors, and community members committed to effective community policing that respects the dignity of community members and keeps people safe, said Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta. The department is also pleased to be able to fulfill Memphis' request for technical assistance on the police department's use of force and de-escalation policies, as well as the use of specialized units. So it sounds like they are going to have this guide now that they are going to put out after this review. providing technical assistance to law enforcement agencies so they can continue to improve their practices while they also develop and maintain healthy relationships with the community is at the heart of what we do at the COPS office, said Director Hugh T. Clements Jr. of the COPS office. I know that this opportunity to work with MPD as well as our examination of specialized units and law enforcement agencies across the country will be important resources for both law enforcement and the communities that they serve. And so this office is, it says, a component of the U.S. Department of Justice. So this has just come out yesterday, this now review, again, not just of the Memphis Police Department's use of force and de-escalation, but of these specialized units across the whole country. And it sounds like from what they have in this press release that a lot of law enforcement agencies are saying, hey, we've got one of these specialized units. What do we do? Do we continue to go forward? Do we disband it? Can somebody give us some guidance here? It sounds like from this press release, the Department of Justice is hearing this from some of these law enforcement agencies who want some guidance on this. All right, let me see what's going on in some of the comments here. It says, yeah, somebody says, have a great day. Yes. Let's see. I want to go over to this COP site so we can see what it is they're talking about, this unit that is going to be doing this review. Who are these people? You saw it was some sort of an acronym with a lot behind it. Remember, now the specialized unit that Memphis had was the Scorpion unit that really had only been around since I think they said the fall or 2021, maybe the fall of 2021, something like that, had about 40 officers. It has now been disbanded. And so this COPS unit is going to be looking at all of these across the country. Let me see if I can pull this up so we can go to that page and take a look at who this is, what they do. I'm not sure I caught all of it from what was in the press release. That was a very wordy press release. There was a lot of information in it. Let's see if I can find this organization that we're talking about. Collaborative Reform Initiative, I think is what it is. Looks like it's this. I put it in my Google search and this is what popped up. This is the COPS piece that they're talking about that is going to be reviewing the Memphis Police Department and all of these specialized units across the country. Let me scroll down so we can see what it is and what they do. So this is what you heard me trying to read out, what this stands for. U.S. Department of Justice committed to ensuring law enforcement agencies across the nation serve all people with fair, equitable, and effective public safety practices. So they've got some goals listed here. They've got an overview listed here. Continuum of technical assistance services that they provide. And this, I think, was the piece that they were talking about with the Memphis Police Department. They were saying they were going to do this review of this technical assistance. This is the process it looks like. Agency inquiry, then intake planning, and this is the technical assistance initiation. And so here's what may have happened here. Like, here's where an agency can come and say, we are submitting a request for technical assistance. They've got an email address here and a telephone number. It sounds like this is the process that the mayor and the chief of police for Memphis went through in order to be able to get COPS of the U.S. Department of Justice, this organization, this initiative, to come in and review the Memphis Police Department's policies and procedures and all of those sorts of things that they mentioned in this press release that came out just yesterday. So there's a lot of information here. Feel free to check it out. Let me know what you think. Like I said, they're the ones that are going to be conducting the review there. Now, this all comes on top of, us not being able to see this additional video. I'm telling you, I was ready. I was ready to look at the additional video. the last video that I did was the piece with EMT Robert Long, where he's talking about how the officers impeded his ability to be able to provide patient care. Go back and look at that video. There are 5 times within about a minute, it's about a minute during that hearing, where he says officers continue to impede patient care. Officers impeded patient care. Officers continue to impede patient care. This was part of the hearing. This was the testimony that he presented. But then when the expert spoke, EMT Long's own expert, who you would think would support your position, the expert said that he didn't see that. He didn't see officers impeding his ability to provide patient care. So I looked at that. I mean, it really sounds like his own expert discredited him and said, no, I don't agree. And that expert has been teaching EMT courses, has helped people become registered. I believe that expert may have even worked for the Memphis Fire Department at one time. So this is a person who has a lot of skill, knowledge, expertise, education about EMT practices. And this expert disagreed with EMT Long when EMT Long said that the officers were impeding his ability to provide patient care. I don't know, you guys. I just would have thought that there would have been more understanding of what was going to go on during that hearing, and that people would have been a little bit more prepared. But it sounds to me like that expert looked at the video and said, no, EMT Long, I believe you are wrong. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay, I want to now head, we have now seen this order that says that we can't see any of this video and these records. We've seen this order. There's not a whole lot to it here. And for those of you who are just coming on, I'll pop back over to it for just a minute if I can get out of this cops website that I was just on. I'll get rid of that if I can. And I'm going to bring back up this order one more time. And then I want to talk about this whole idea of the investigation being complete. Is the investigation complete? Well, you have some news media reporting that the investigation around Tyre Nichols and the officers and what happened with the employees and Mr. Nichols, that this investigation is complete. Let me pull back up this order one more time, just so we can double check on that for those of you who have just come on board. And then we're going to go over to some of this media, because I was kind of caught off guard when I saw it. Maybe you were caught off guard too. Maybe you're like, nope, Attorney Sheila, I'm not caught off guard. I'm not caught off guard. Maybe you're used to it or something like that. But again, here was this order, very short, saying that they were not going to release the videos, audio, reports, and personnel files relating to the indictment and investigation. And this includes administrative hearings, records, and related files. Okay, so I hope that brings some of you up to speed who have just joined. Now let me go back and talk a little bit about this whole idea that this investigation is complete. Now think about this. The incident with Tyre Nichols occurred January 7th. And then we had his unfortunate death on January 10th. So during that time, we have had the Scorpion unit shut down. We have had officers get suspended. EMT personnel get suspended. Officers get fired. EMT personnel get fired. We now have not just administrative charges against Memphis employees. We now have criminal charges, which include second-degree murder, kidnapping, assault, misconduct for those 5 Memphis police officers. We have 1 officer who was not criminally charged. And so everything is supposed to be completed now, according to what I am reading. And so I want to find maybe one of these because I didn't know the investigation was complete. Maybe you guys can tell me if you had heard that the investigation was complete. I had not heard that. I had not heard that at all. So let me see where is the best place to go for this. I think I think I want to go to maybe this one that's somewhere in here. Oh, maybe it's the Hill. Yes, we are going to go to the Hill. That's the one we're going to go to. I think we'll go to that article. That's one of the ones that I was looking at. DOJ. All right. Yep, let's take a look at this one. I'm going to scroll it back up to the top so we can see the very top because it says DOJ reviewing Memphis Police Department after Tyre Nichols' death. So that's what we just went over. We went over that whole press release, okay? Reviewing the department at the police chief and the mayor's request. And we went to the website where we got to see, some of what they do as a part of that. This is this COPS initiative with the Department of Justice. But here, this is where I got shocked. This part where it says the announcement, the delay of releasing the video and the audio and the records, the announcement comes as the city of Memphis is set to release up to 20 additional hours of video and audio on Wednesday after completing its investigation into Nichols' death. That's what it's saying. It says after completing its investigation. I didn't get that memo. Maybe it was on the City of Memphis website. I didn't see it, but this is what it says. It says after completing its investigation into Nichols' death. So there's a lot of information that is still out here that we have not yet received. It sounds like it's going to be released at a later date, and everything's done. Everything's wrapped up, apparently, and we're just going to have to wait and see. We are going to have to wait and see how this ends. I got a number of comments over here, and it says, yes, Attorney Ballard requested the hold because he felt like the attorney should review the tape first. And the thing about it is it wasn't just the tape. The order covers audio, video, records, administrative hearings. The order is very broad. It says any of these items that are related to the indictment and investigation. So it's a very broad list. And at this point in time, we're only, being told, oh, there were 20 additional hours that we were going to get. But like I said before, the question also is whether or not that included some of the hearings for the EMT officers, especially Jamichael Sandridge, that they hadn't gotten to because they sort of ran over late when they were doing the hearing for EMT Long. So is that included in this, or will they go ahead and release that because that was really a part of the fire department and not really a part of the police department? I don't think they will. I kind of feel like they aren't going to release that yet either. I feel like they're going to hold on to all of it. Marshall's lady says it probably will never be released. They are thinking if they go to trial, they could not get a fair juror. A lot of people have seen this video. I don't spend a lot of time on Vimeo, so I haven't been back over there to see whether or not they have it set up so that you can see the number of people who watch the video like you can on YouTube. But I can imagine a fair number of people have looked at this video, and it may be that they decide not to have this trial in Memphis. They could request a change of venue because they feel like they might not be able to find a fair and impartial jury in Memphis. That may very well be the case, especially if you have a number of people in the community who have had instances where they have had encounters with members of the Scorpion unit, or maybe they know people who are in the Scorpion unit. A lot of times these cities feel big in a way, but when we start talking about personal relationships and who knows who and who works with whom and who actually had an interaction with somebody, the world all of a sudden gets very small. And it can be that they're worried about whether or not they're going to be able to find a jury here, and whether or not the jury is already going to have access to all of this information, because now everything is online. And so they're saying to the judge, okay, number one, can we at least have a chance to review it first, to plan and prepare for trial? Now, I don't know if you saw that first hearing that took place where they all showed up and the attorneys for the defendants then entered the not guilty pleas for their clients. But even at that hearing, the judge said to the defendants, I'm not reading anything, so I can take off my glasses. The judge said to the defendants, make sure you work with your attorneys. It was a very interesting statement to hear, because in most cases, clients usually try to work with their attorneys. I don't see that many instances where clients and their attorneys are butting heads so hard that they can't work together. In a situation like this, I don't anticipate that happening. But it was one of those things that the judge brought up. Now I know I need to have on my glasses because I need to see some of the comments over here. Yeah, so we will see how that goes. And thank you. I got a delivery there. The other thing too is I think the next hearing, I can't remember if it's scheduled for, I think it's scheduled for May 11th or something like that. I should go back and take a look at it, but it's going to be a while. And so they are going to have time to review all of these documents. We get that. We understand that. The attorneys representing the defendants need an opportunity to do that. But it's going to be interesting to see how long we're going to have to wait as the public to get some of these records. But that's pretty much it. I hope that brings everyone up to speed with what's going on. And let's see what, we've got some other comments over here. So yeah, let's see. This is all super cap because when the FBI 2022 hate crime report was released, over half of the 11,000 departments in the US did not submit reports, and Black people were the highest victimized. So there you go. You've got more information there. And this was just 2022. So that's the other thing. So this COPS group is going to be taking a look at these specialized units across the country, it says, because they've been asking, not the FBI, but the law enforcement agencies that have these specialized units have been asking. And so they're now going to be sort of looking into that. But even if they start to ask questions and try to do reviews, if there's not a mandatory participation requirement, then you're only really going to hear from law enforcement agencies that probably are committed to doing things better. When we do bad, we don't really jump up and down and try to tell everyone we're doing bad, right? I mean, let's just think about that. That's usually the case. The agencies that want to do better are usually the ones that are trying to seek out assistance to help them do better. But it's exactly as you say. It's only as good as it can be if people respond to the questions being asked, if the departments step up and want to participate in this review process. So that's another thing that's going to weigh in on how these specialized units continue to operate in communities. And I'm sure there are a number of communities across this country that are taking a look at their units and are taking a look at their practices to see what they can do better. So let's see. James Lucky says this might go on for the next 3 years or more. And you are correct. This could take a really, really long time. So this happened in January, but you've got five defendants. And I talked about this in another video. I can imagine, you know, Officer Smith, for instance, who said, hey, I was actually not on the scene in the beginning. I heard the call and I came to the scene and I didn't do this and I didn't do that. I think you're going to see officers and their attorneys start to try to distinguish their clients' actions from some of the other clients. So, where you had officers who were actively engaged in the beating, those are the officers that are going to have a really tough time. I can imagine, yes, they're going to need more time to prepare a defense for something like that because it's really hard to defend against that, right? Officers who maybe were in a position where they didn't do anything to stop any of this, their attorneys are probably going to try to separate them out. Like, they were less bad is probably the route that their attorneys are going to try to go. With five defendants, it is going to take a while. And I do personally believe, my personal opinion, I do personally believe that we will see appropriate justice for this. That's my personal belief. I'm sure that some of you will disagree with me, but that is my personal belief. Next one, let's see. Pretty lucky. Okay, right. In case they, we're talking about another case here where a year after they found the weapon. Some of these cases go on for a while. They really do. The only issue that this particular case has is the Scorpion group killed Tyre. It wasn't due to their brutality. For that was clearly their basic get down. You know, I was reading something about even the clothing that officers wear, and I may have mentioned this in another video, that everything from the hat to the clothing to the whole appearance in some cases can be designed in such a way to exude this sort of authority. And the article that I was reading, for instance, talked about the different kind of cap styles that go with the uniforms, like those with sort of the harder lines present you as more of an authority figure. This sort of idea that you have specialized units in unmarked cars, in clothing that does not show who they are. It's 8:30 at night. It's starting to get dark. You surround and pull up on a vehicle. Just the whole setting. And I think what you said, called it their basic get down. The whole setting of how this happens, the procedures, the practices that are being used sound very problematic here. And so this sort of country-wide review that the Department of Justice is taking, I hope we'll be looking at some of these practices to say, here are the things that you shouldn't be doing. Because if I'm in a car at 8:30 at night and some other car just sort of pulls up in a way to sort of block me, and somebody jumps out and they're all covered and masked up with a hoodie and I don't know who they are, I'm going to feel a certain kind of way about that. And that certain kind of way is, I'm probably going to feel scared. I'm probably going to feel threatened. I'm probably not going to want to get out of my car. You're going to pull me out. I don't know who you are. I'm very afraid. It's very concerning to see something happen that way. And then to know that that person died as a result. it did not have to happen this way. But I hope that brings you all up to speed in terms of this 20 additional hours of audio, video, reports, administrative hearings, personnel files. We're going to get none of that, not anytime soon, until the defendants and their attorneys have had a chance to review it. And the court's going to come back and let us know this is in the public interest and will issue an order for these items to be released. So we thought they were coming out yesterday. Then we got this quick turnaround on an order that says no. I'm going to look for the motion. I did not see the motion. When I come across the motion, I will do the motion in a separate video so that we can have that too and know exactly, I guess, a little bit more detail about what the attorneys were asking for when they said, hey, we need you to hold back on releasing these documents and these materials. So please go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. You know how that YouTube algorithm loves to see some engagement. And it also lets me know if I'm providing valuable, updated information to you about what is going on, lots of legal cases, so that you're more up to speed and you have a good understanding. And you get to see the actual documents. We go to the actual websites. So you know you can always come back if you're looking for some information, say, hey, it's on Attorney Sheila's YouTube channel. That's where I saw it. I saw the actual documents, and that's what she talked about. It's not just me talking out of my head, as I like to do sometimes. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe. Mwah. Peace.